Yo! Video games.
Turns red, you should see a doctor.
Yeah, all right. Well, now, yeah, right.
It's a serious problem.
All right. So,
All right. Well, we did it.
we did it.
We saw it.
Did we make a review for Force Awakens? We didn't.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah.
Force Awakens?
I think so.
Curious if it's actually been that long.
I think we did. I think that's the one with
Check right
Taylor.
now.
That was the one we unanimously loved, right?
Force Awakens?
The Force
no, we
Awakens,
definitely
the
made
last-
one for Rogue One.
Yeah.
No, we did one for Force Awakens, but not Last Jedi.
Oh, we definitely did one for Last Jedi.
Last
dude.
Jedi.
Yeah.
We
Force
talked
Awakens.
for 2 hours on
Yeah.
Last
Last
Jedi.
Jedi was a 2-hour.
Okay, well, let's see if we can keep this
But,
under an hour.
under 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I don't think all of us even saw. So I still haven't seen Solo.
Yeah, I did.
I saw it.
I admittedly completely lost interest in almost everything Star Wars after the second Return, Rise of the Jedi. What?
The Last Jedi.
I can't remember the name of it.
Last
Yeah.
Jedi.
I just lost interest. I didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
So going into this
was
one, everyone was like, "What's your hype out of 10?" I'm like 5.
Yeah, literally, that was my hype. Exactly.
I wanted to see Ford versus Ferrari
I
more.
don't know. We may not have done a Force Awakens review.
I don't think we did. I think that was before we were doing reviews.
Okay.
Because I remember us arguing about who the hell Snoke is and where he comes from, and is he Palpatine's bitch? And we were talking about that back in 2015, and how, oh god, JJ is just setting shit up and he doesn't know how to finish it. When the funny thing is, this movie is nothing but finishing it.
Yeah.
This movie is the equivalent of Halo 3, finish the fight. Yeah. It just, all it wants to do is just spend every waking moment of this movie's existence just tying up any loose ends.
Yeah.
Right.
And it tries very hard to do that. At sometimes at the cost of the movie. So yes, we are. We're going to be talking about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
These titles, for some reason, are hard for me to remember.
Because you got the Return of the Jedi, then Regeneration.
Force Awakens is easy for me to remember, but The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, for some reason, I don't
intertwine.
I don't immediately pinpoint them.
I think because they kind of call back, Return, Rise,
Revenge of the Jedi and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I think too, like kind of like the original ones, kind of make more of the story. It's like, hey, A New Hope. Hey, it's a new guy. Oh, the Empire Strikes Back. Oh, the Empire got this. Yeah. Oh, Return of the Jedi. He comes back.
Yeah, there was like a follow through.
Yeah, like this.
Because that one is like, New Hope. Bad guys come back, and then the good guys return.
And The Last Jedi still doesn't even really make sense.
As
a title. Why was it called The Last Jedi?
It was obvious in the movie that there was
we're talking about the old.
Even the surname of this movie isn't relevant until literally way deep into the story of the film. And even the last Jedi of the previous movie, there's little baby Jedis fucking everywhere. There's little baby Jedis everywhere.
Yeah, there was that whole.
She's not even the Last Jedi.
Completely
doing out the window. You forgot that happened.
By saying because I was thinking about that during the movie, but I guess by saying something like that's technically spoiler. So I'll try to keep this spoiler free for a little bit.
Yeah. No, we'll give the general.
But
spoiler
even saying
warning.
something's not in it or not followed through is almost kind of a spoiler in a way. So
I guess we'll just keep general impressions, and I'll go first because I love Star Trek more than anyone in this room.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be clinging. I think this is the best movie of all of the recent all the Star Wars that they've put out since Force Awakens.
All right.
I actually think this is the most enjoyable and rewatchable, and I my previous favorite was actually Rogue One, just because Rogue One has that amazing final act.
Yeah.
The final act is so good that it makes up for the very shallow movie that it is leading up to it.
Yeah.
Even though that movie actually subverted my expectations because it made bad guys kind of good guys, and sort of treaded the line between the rebellion having to do some dirty shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to take it, even though they didn't execute it very well. But my God, dude, the ending of that movie is just crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's really
crazy. Yeah.
And you get very Star Wars feels out of it. Force Awakens is obviously my second best because it's obviously just a retelling in almost every way. Yeah. But the funny thing is that for the most part, all these movies are just complete retellings visually and narratively of the original three in every fucking way. And the second one, as much as it wanted to subvert your expectations, it still did the same shit.
Oh man, what do we do from here? We're like, all hope is almost lost.
Did the same shit.
Oh, I want to be different. I'm Ryan John. I want
They're
to be
just
different.
going back to Hoth, but instead of the beginning, it's at the end.
Yeah.
That was your expectation subverted.
Yeah.
Kenny is setting the precedent fucking hard and fast about how he feels about Jedi.
I'll admit, Last Jedi does have a moment of contention because it made me just not give a shit about Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
I just didn't care.
Yeah, I walked out of Last Jedi. I was just super apathetic about it because it's like there was like walking out of it. I was like, yeah, it was cool, but then like there was that weird like it's sunk
The
in.
moment it sinks in.
Then there's like sinks in. I was like, yeah, it's just.
I had
just kind of like, yeah, it's just.
And
bad.
I really liked this movie on the walkout. You know, I was like, that was really good. And then there's a couple of sink-in moments that kind of like you're like, I don't know. But then at the end, I'm like, I still really had fun. Like the movie still at least felt like it was things were at least happening.
Yeah.
You know, which felt like a lot different than the previous fucking movie where it just didn't feel like things were progressing.
Yeah.
So overall, I think I liked it. How did you like it, Steve?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. This is probably like one of my favorite out of the last three.
You're not fucking around with it?
I'm not fucking around with it.
You actually like it? Okay.
Yeah,
I actually
I talked about it,
100% love this.
I figured Steve would like it because there was like cool shit happening.
It's not even the fact that there was cool shit happening; it's the fact that they gave us closure. That's what I wanted.
There's closure, and
I wanted to be able to just know what the
I'm not going to mention what.
Yeah, no, none of that stuff. Is
there's some good nods.
I needed to know what the hell was going on from the past two movies, and they finally were able to answer some stuff, and that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
If you're going to give us a bunch of weird, apathetic questions and try to figure out, these mysteries and stuff like that, and then say, this person's here, but nothing's going on with her and stuff like that. Just give us something.
And I will say, there was some closure that I found genuinely kind of surprising and I didn't see coming. I was like, whoa, cool. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Didn't see that shit. And it actually tied into the story I felt rather well.
Yeah. And even with some of the older characters like Leia and stuff like that, I think it was perfect. Like everything was laid out perfectly.
Yeah, I think they did a pretty good job, especially with the way her character was handled and the passing of herself, in real life. I think all of that was pretty seamlessly integrated. But it was in the back of my head that so they're working around dialogue.
They're working. It was fucking obvious as shit to me.
I mean, I could tell. I saw a couple green screens there. I was like,
not even that. I mean, her dialogue.
Yeah, it felt like they're revolving conversations around what they have had.
I didn't know they had so much footage of her after the last movie.
She doesn't actually say a lot,
right? But
that's the thing. Yeah. Like, a character goes and describes all the shit they got to do, and then her reply will be like, "No."
Yeah, or something like that.
I was like,
But she had a full-on, I mean, no spoiler, she had a full-on conversation with Rey multiple times. It wasn't just like, yes.
It wasn't much of a conversation. A lot of it was just sort of like, no. Yes. Like, there were parts where I was like, oh, man. Like,
I remember full-on conversations with her and
I think the part where Rey was, describing about, which doesn't know what to do with, Force stuff, no spoilers.
Right, yeah.
And then they're having talks about, stuff like that.
There's obvious moments where you're
there's
obvious
obvious it's like I get it, but I don't feel like it's. I feel like if you didn't know that she passed away, it might not be as obvious.
Yeah, it totally would have fit.
I don't know. There's some moments where she never actually addresses the current situation that's going on directly.
I mean. Does she even in the previous movies? To be completely honest, she doesn't have a lot of dialogue there.
Well, I don't think they watched it. I don't think they wanted her to talk.
She mostly comes in on a drop ship, and then a big war just happened, and she hugs someone. And they're just like, "I missed you."
Yeah,
right. And that's it.
And that's kind
of
it.
That's kind of it here too.
To be honest, in the last
she
movie,
wasn't
they left her
crazy
mysterious.
pivotal parts. She wasn't like, we have to do the
in the last movie
Clargonian maneuver to get the
It's even more mysterious.
She has a lot. She's much more integral to the plot in Last Jedi, which they had a lot. They were filmed a lot more with her in it.
Yeah.
Obviously, not always for the better.
Right.
Obviously not. But you could kind of tell they were basically. I felt it was really obvious they were basically reusing footage.
You know what? They did her justice. That's all I cared about.
It looked good because it didn't look. It didn't have that Rogue One because it was real footage of Carrie Fisher.
One, yeah.
So it wasn't this weird Rogue One CG Carrie.
Yeah.
Where let's get her to talk about the current thing, get a CG double and someone who kind of sounds like her, and then it's really fucking weird.
Yeah.
actually avoided that, which I thought was a smart call.
I thought
I feel
there's a little bit of restraint there.
Yeah.
I feel like they made the right call here.
I agree.
Because, I mean, like, it's not spoiler to say Carrie Fisher's in the movie. Everyone kind of knows she is.
Yeah,
and everyone knows that she died a couple of years ago. So they did this. I think to me, this was better handled than trying to do a Grand Moff Tarkin.
This was the best way to handle it.
Because Grand Moff Tarkin's cool, but like, boy, oh boy, do you know Grand Moff Tarkin is
Yeah, I think what they did with her has pretty emotional impact.
This is probably the best that they could have done.
When they talked about it, they said, look, this is the way we're going to do it. We're going to do it the best way and the most respectful way. We're not going to give her any CG. They literally said that. So they literally said, hey, this is what we're going to do.
The part where she like floats in and starts laser blasting and then forces her laser blasts into Vader at the end of the movie, I thought was a little weird.
Yeah.
Where she like was sitting there and she was floating and then she was concentrating on the laser blasts and she redirected laser blasts into Vader in the third act of this movie.
It was her eye beams, Max.
That was true. She shot eye lasers, Jedi Force eye lasers at Vader, and then they reflected off Vader. They hit the bad guys. She grabbed that laser and went and shot Vader and killed.
Did you see her back?
Killed Force Ghost Vader.
Yeah, I remember that.
That might be a spoiler.
Did we say no spoilers then, or
Kenny? How did you like it?
I really enjoyed it. Like what Harold Simmons, it was a very fun mess.
Yeah, that's what I said. It was a beautiful mess.
It was a very fun mess.
That's how I feel about it. Yeah.
I also feel like Steve. I'm like, you know what? Because I'm not trying to like hold a grudge, but like,
I think it's kind of
like
hard.
these, like, you know, like when the second movie just leaves us like is like literally just a continuation of the first movie and nothing really happens. Then you leave it up to this third movie. You leave a lot,
and
right?
that
you
feels
leave
this
a lot
movie
to
is
the third movie. So this movie
it's having
has
to fit
a lot.
in two movies into one.
Yeah,
is what it feels like it's trying to do.
To be honest, I'm obviously out of the loop.
Yeah.
I didn't know that J.J. Abrams didn't film the second one, so I was completely in the dark. Now I see why it was so bad. Compared to the first and this one, it's him answering the mess that happened in the second one. I feel like,
and it's painfully obvious that this whole trilogy had no roadmap.
No, not at all.
Absolutely
not at all. They were just going. They were just
painfully obvious that like
Kathleen Kennedy. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And now she's like, no more trilogies because we fucked that up.
Yeah.
It's so obvious from the get-go. It's like they didn't come down. Okay, we're gonna make a new Star Wars. Here's a beginning. Here's an end. You know, this is the end.
Even Jorge Lucas, when he was writing, New Hope. It starts on episode 4, and then is obviously as a 3-act story that wasn't as fleshed out as it ended up being in the screenplays, because a lot of the screenplays got in the hands of other people that made them even better. Yeah. But for the most part,
there was a roadmap.
There was at least a greater tale that was to be told.
Yeah. See, the crazy thing that someone pointed out, it's been 5 years since they bought Star Wars.
Has it really been 5 years?
Since they bought it. Not since Force Awakens, since they bought it.
Right, so they bought them in 2014?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it must have been earlier than
that.
I think it was like they've had it for 5 years, and the same amount of time that they've owned it, they put out, if you count like Mandalorian's full runtime, they've made as many movies as the entire life of Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
Like in the 30 odd years leading up, you count Mandalorian as it's like its own film, that's like 6 films.
Seriously, are you saying it was rushed, sir?
Yeah, well, and
how dare you?
They said it.
Well, they came out much faster. The original trilogies are every 3 years. Yeah. These were 2. And the thing is, there was old interviews where Mark was talking about the future of Star Wars, and he said, there's going to be 9 total. There's going to be prequels, and it's going to tell about, like, there was, like, if you can look at this interview, he is talking about the future. He even talked about
he talked about Star Wars being a 9-story act.
Yeah, and he said, like, Luke told, or George told me that, like, in the future that I would be like, and he was literally talking, I'm like, holy shit, like, wait, that really does sound like
that's
there was a roadmap for this. What we just got, there was no roadmap. And like Rian Johnson, like, you know what? I don't care about fan service. That's just dumb. Here we go. And I'm just going to, change everything. And like, and then what's the third guy going to do? I don't know.
I don't think there was like a serious Bible written for the original trilogy.
No.
They definitely...
There's an obvious layout.
Yeah.
There was a layout.
But there's no like full. There's no
a layout, but yeah, you can kind of
they
tell.
have like an idea what they want to do, but like it was not some pre-planned. We had this grandiose idea. And George probably had something boiling around in his head, but I feel that separating the amount of time between 4, 5, and 6 helped flesh out what they were doing.
Sure.
By doing this thing where, I mean, it was every 2 years between these films, but there was still a film a year.
Yeah.
So, like, in general, speaking terms, Lucasfilm someone was involved, a bunch of people were involved in making a movie every single year, nonstop, for 5 years. And
there was a lot of,
I think there's no chance for, like, someone to, like, just sit there and, like, hey, we need to rewrite this. This script doesn't work for me.
So,
you
similar to the prequels, and on opposite in some ways, the prequels had an issue where there wasn't enough contention. Like, George just got to do whatever the hell he wanted and had no contest to anything, and then just did it. And by the end of by the third movie, he was feeling the heat pretty much, and he decided to finally start like, okay, well, I got to make it actually feel more Star Warsy now. Yeah. So he ends up doing that, making the best Star Wars movie of the prequels. And now in this one, it almost feels like with this trilogy, and I do feel it in moments in this movie too, it feels like there's way too much involvement.
Yes.
Like there is way too much executive decision making.
Yeah, there's a weird
so much
that's a
in
really
this movie
good
too.
Point that the prequel trilogy is basically the problem of one person having too much control.
One executive decision maker, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then this one is a little too much by committee. Too much studio interference.
Too many hands in the cookie jar.
Like, in a way, it's everything George kind of feared was like studio interference.
Oh, yeah. The whole reason he released Star Wars not under a studio affiliation, the whole reason he separated himself from that shit.
Yeah.
So
like there's a story about, I don't know if it's true or not, but it probably is. There's a story like for Empire, maybe even the first one, that he went and got a giant loan from a bank.
That was the second one.
And he did that so he could not have any studio interference.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, I'm in control of all the money here, even though it's on a loan from the bank or whatever. The bank, they're not going to interfere with my decision making.
Yeah, they just want to make sure.
Crazy shit like that.
So, that's actually a true story. I saw that on the documentary.
The editors just locked them out of the room.
The first movie, I've heard stories about how it was saved in editing.
Yeah,
that's like the big quote. Is like,
that's actually in the documentary as well.
He wanted to, like, Lucas's edit of New Hope is kind of terrible, and basically other people came in and were like,
"There's a shit ton of stories about that the editors on Empire Strike Back would work really late hours, like they would edit from like 1 in the morning to like 5 in the morning, as like a committee to when George was sleeping."
I know from firsthand experience not talking directly, but like hearing from Irvin Kershner and Billy D. Williams, like Lawrence Kasdan and Irvin Kershner would write the script at night the day before. They would rewrite whatever they were going to shoot the next day and then film it and not tell George. Just because, like, he is what he is. Like, I think George is a visionary.
Absolutely. I think he deserves all the credit in the world.
And I think he would even in some way admit too that he's not the best at dialogue or directing
or emotion,
right? So like he knows what he wants, but he's kind of like me when it comes to drawing. I know what I want to draw in my head,
lay it out,
but I can't do it. When it comes to putting my hand on the paper, I'm not going to draw the vision in my head. I can't do it, and I feel like George, in a way, is like he's got these great visions in his head, but when it comes to putting it on film, And honestly, the one thing I lament above everything for Star Wars, because we're still trying to keep this non-spoilery, I guess, is that I wish George was able to convince Spielberg to direct Jedi or the prequels like he wanted. Like he really wanted Spielberg to be the guy to direct those movies.
Those old movies, yeah.
And Spielberg was like, I don't want to put my stamp on your vision.
Yeah.
Which I feel would have actually benefited those movies, because to bring it back to the sequel trilogy, I do think, as messy as they are story-wise, vision-wise even, if you will, they are well shot, they're well directed, they're well acted. I'm not going to say the editing is like, kind of like...
Which the prequels?
Well, the sequels. I'm talking about sequel trilogy now.
Yeah,
so I think
I
think the sequels are well acted, well shot, well done.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have a really great cohesive,
captivating narrative.
You know, I'm not gonna say I would say Force Awakens, and I would say Last Jedi is edited well. You know, there's nothing like super weird, odd jump cutty or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This movie, I'm not gonna say is edited well. I'd say it's more of a miracle that it came out as coherent as it did.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. I feel this movie could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like, this movie could have been way worse.
I was actually expecting
And the fact that there is still some quirky shit, but the fact that it's still as enjoyable as it is, the fact that at the end of it, I would be more willing to watch this movie again than probably any of the other
100%.
any of the other movies that Star Wars movies that have come out. I think this one is the most like rewatchable and enjoyable, and that comes down to characters. The characters, like the trio, actually feel like they finally get something.
Yes,
they actually are people. Like now they have motivations, they have things to do. They have reasons and objectives, like fucking finally. It's been 3 movies.
Part of it was frustrating because I was happy and frustrated at the same time watching this movie because we finally see the main 3 together.
Yeah.
And being friends and going on adventures as a trio, as a group.
Yeah.
Well, actually more than a trio. But it's like, God, this is what I was waiting for from the end of the first act, right? Like, this is the most charismatic and character-driven I've seen the new cast
ever
interact since the end of the first act of the first movie. Because it's pretty good, I feel, in Force Awakens. Like, Finn, when he crashes, and
for their introduction,
their introductions are pretty good. But the minute they get off Jakku,
shit just starts happening around them.
And then shit just starts happening. Yeah, exactly. Shit just starts happening around them. They get split up. They fucking never interact. It was like, even at the end of Last Jedi, there's that moment where, like, Poe, like, oh, hi, I'm Poe. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Oh, my God, they've never
even fucking met.
Yeah.
So
Holy
this movie
shit.
being a time skip, I guess, slight spoilers, this is Last Jedi was like 5 minutes after Force Awakens, and this is like...
This feels like it could be like a year.
A year or something, right? So it's kind of like, finally, I'm seeing the new characters do something and act like a unit. And
act like humans to each other.
Yeah, and act like humans and have human moments, you know, and fuck, Rey is finally... I feel like Rey was finally a likable character in this.
Yes, I agree.
Which I like I wanted to like Rey. I've always wanted to be, you know, oh yeah, Rey's cool, I like her, but like, fuck, they never gave her anything to do.
So I think you kind of feel the same way that we do. I have a question to you overall. Of all the Star Warsness, the outside of The Mandalorian, because I feel that's like separate. Outside of all the official movies that have come out, do you kind of like this one the most?
Of the
Of all
Disney era?
The Disney era.
Of the Disney
movies.
era. I think this is kind of yes in a... Okay, I'll tell you exactly how I feel about this really easily. I do, but there's an asterisk there. Return of the Jedi is like my favorite Star Wars, but I know it's not the best.
Yeah.
I know Empire is much better written and better acted, but I would rather watch Jedi.
Yeah.
This one is like, I feel like the other movies are better paced. Like Force Awakens, and is it better
Force Awakens? Force Awakens definitely has better
pacing, but I feel this is better. I feel maybe even stronger. Like, I feel this is better than the others Disney era films because it's fun.
Yeah,
it actually feels like it's fun.
Here's the thing: Rogue One was my favorite. But do I want to watch the first 2 acts of Rogue One?
That's my problem. Is like Rogue One is like, okay, before this movie, be like, what's your favorite thing in the Disney era? I'll be like, the third act of Rogue One.
The third act of Rogue One.
The third act of Rogue One is pretty good. Yeah. The rest of that movie, I'm like, but
yeah, that's actually.
So for this movie, it's like to me, this movie's just a little bit better than Rogue One.
Yeah.
Even with its kind of breakneck pace.
Yeah.
I think it's the most enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sit here and critically. I don't know if I could sit here and say critically this is the best of the Disney's ever done. I'll just say, you know what? It's the most fun I had.
And you know what? What's funny? And I wanted to come home to immediately check this because I've been avoiding personal reviews and Twitter. I don't want to know what people think about the movie at all. I want to form my opinion without being... Because once you hear other people's opinions, it's going to sway what you feel. You're going to be looking for the things that other people have talked about. Yeah. So I was like, okay, just keep me off. As soon as I read, man, the new Star Wars, I boned out of there. But I got to finally see the tomato meter. and I'm not surprised that it's like below 60. But what I was expecting was that the fan reaction was going to be pretty high. That it was going to be reaching to like maybe the 90s, and it looks like it's already happening.
Wow, yeah.
So the previous movie was
hilarious.
highly critically praised,
Opposite.
but the fans were pissed, or at least seemingly pissed.
Yeah.
And this one is the exact opposite, where it's not critically praised, but the fans seem happy.
I think in a weird way that's how I feel though. I'm like, I don't think critically it's
Me too. And you know what? I agree with that.
It's a little it's sloppily done. It's like a mishmash and there's reasons for it. But you know what?
At the end,
I had the most fun.
At the end of watching this movie, I kind of like Star Wars again.
Yeah.
There you go. I kind of like it again.
Yeah, I felt like I watched a Star Wars.
I don't
movie.
feel guilt for liking Star Wars anymore.
Because that's what I was going to talk about. I remember
I felt guilt.
Yeah, you know why? Because I remember in the beginning, you Star Wars, and I could tell some people were happy, some people were quiet, some people were really I don't know.
Yeah,
after
to be honest,
getting burned by the last Star Wars, and then the new one starts, people were like,
there was a big moment in the theater where some people were like, whoa,
yeah,
it was like an odd, and I didn't even clap.
No,
I'm usually pretty excited for movies.
I think so.
For
too.
example, when Avatar 2 shows up in theaters and the Fox logo, I was like, whoa, let's go, fucking Avatar 2
logo.
Whatever. Yeah, it's a Disney logo. Yeah. when that happens, I'm actually going to be, whoa, Avatar's fucking, that's crazy. 10 years, whoa, I won't be upset.
But the Star Wars thing, there was, these are the first screenings. So, I think everyone was in there dipping their toe in the water.
Yeah.
No one was in there yeah, right? After, it's you had a breakup and then your ex calls you back and let's go on another date. You're like,
you know what I don't get? I went to a midnight screening, maybe a little past midnight,
cautiously
of episode 3 in Burbank.
Yeah.
And that audience was lit. They were throwing beach balls and whacking it with lightsabers and shit.
Man, yeah,
we went to a little more high.
Die-hard.
We went to a high class.
So episode 3, so that was the final.
But even then, though,
because it was the only one we could find was a more
Die-hard.
high class theater. That at this point we bought our tickets really late.
But it wasn't like Beverly Hills.
I couldn't figure out how. But it's interesting you say that now because it's exactly what I thought. People are going to be a little more muted after The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
of course.
Revenge of the Sith was you just watched the 2 worst goddamn Star Wars movies. Leading up to this one. How the fuck is anyone still excited for this shit?
Because
they must have all watched Andy Tartakovsky's
you know what it is? Because they know what it's going to lead to.
Yeah,
they've been waiting for shitty movies for it to eventually lead up to something good.
Yes, because
finally Vader!
Vader and the fight between Obi-Wan. Yeah,
that's what.
Man, I could just tell the vibe because I wanted to be excited, man. For the previous Star Wars when they started, you're yeah. Fuck yeah, the music, and it's just,
Yeah, to this one.
This one is people were just
still just
there was the point where it was, there was actually a point where it's a long time ago in a galaxy far from, I'm like, can we just get to the pre-roll? There was actually a moment where it's just I don't feel that fucking magic at all. It was just, can we just get to the title scroll? And then well, they're just talking about Palpatine.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just get into spoilers.
All right.
But I think we all generally we kind of liked it.
I think it's fun.
I think it's in my personal opinion probably my favorite of all of the ones
the
Disney of the Disneyfieds.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
So who wants to? Kenny? Is there something that you wanted to talk about that's super spoilery that happened in the movie?
The hyperdrive chase was awesome.
The fast scattered light speed.
That was that was just hey, that's a way cooler version of what was going on in the last movie.
Yeah.
Right? It was we can't, they're just gonna follow us. But dude, they were just going through light speed and going through all these different things.
Yeah.
Rapid light speed. You bring that up. It's pretty early in the movie. And you know what went through my head during that? I was thinking, why the fuck wasn't this Smuggler's Run?
Jesus.
Why the fuck wasn't this what Smuggler's Run is based off of?
The ride at Disneyland,
The Disneyland. I was just thinking whoa, this is so cool. They're doing some cool shit. They're getting chased by TIE fighters going through all these little corridors and knocking shit down and blowing up. I'm like,
Probably just came up with this idea. Like, this has got to be a new idea. That just, this was nowhere in any of
that's true.
Star Wars.
Smuggler's Run was probably designed way
before.
Way before this movie for sure. But I'm just like,
this is a totally.
But it's just a big fucking digital screen. It's just a Sega CD game. Update that shit.
There definitely needed to be a moment in Smuggler's Run where we're on some basic ass mission and we're getting chased by fucking the Empire because we're doing some illegal shit and we gotta get the hell out of here and we gotta do some crazy stuff that's what happens at the beginning of the movie. There's like a really cool ass escape sequence.
They put like they put like a thing for the ride to like think about, you poor engineers. Do a thing where you have to do light speed jumping, like the light skipping, where you're like constantly like having to zip and shit. Like that'd be actually cool in the ride. They're like, we got to light so it actually makes the ride more intense. That ride is very mild.
It was that was actually a really good part of the beginning of the movie and something that had not been done before.
No, yeah.
And so I'm gonna say
a lot of tension.
I'm gonna throw
fun. I was just like, whoa.
I'm going to throw something in that I liked. My first thing that I liked a lot was that they expanded upon the weird Force relationship that Rey and Kylo have.
Yeah,
that was
about their being able to communicate with each other through space and time. And now they can, obviously spoilers, they can interact with each other through space and time. They can transcend space and time through the Force. So I'm like, that's fucking super interesting, man.
Yeah, I think Last Jedi introduced that idea.
Yeah, Last Jedi introduced it.
Because
like,
it was like water.
They definitely
it was like water. So like,
they expanded upon it here where they were taking things from each other and
actually was
fighting
badass.
through space and time.
That was like a Freddy Krueger moment. That was like, holy shit, that was cool.
Neat.
Yeah.
So I thought that interaction actually leads to the eventual plot, the eventual end plot of the movie, where Palpatine was obviously the bad guy, recognizes that they have a connection that transcends the Force. That does like, well, they got something going on, and I'm gonna that's what I want now. Like, so I think that expansion was actually really good and definitely made their characters a lot more likable and relatable.
Yeah.
And added to good moments.
We are in spoiler territory. I don't know how you guys. I cringed the shit out of Raylo.
Yes,
I was like,
yes, that was
so.
Yeah. The kiss.
Oh, well, let's talk about.
I'm just throwing that out there early on.
Before we talk about the weird cringy stuff, let's talk about Steve. What's the thing? What's like the spoilery thing that you really dug about the movie?
The spoiler thing was the reveal that she was the Emperor's granddaughter.
Yeah.
I
loved it. I did not see it coming. I wasn't thinking about it ahead of time.
Because that bullshit where, you're nobody.
Yeah.
I fucking drove me nuts. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, wait, she's doing all this crazy stuff and she's got so much powers. And everybody's like, oh, she's the chosen one, everything. You're nobody.
There are several moments of story retcon. There's like a lot of...
Of course they retcon it. Of course they
not even that one, but there's a lot of other moments of story retcon directly from things that just were unexplained in the previous movie. And what was their explanation in the previous movie? There's no explanation. It's nothing.
Yeah, there was none.
And they literally go back and they said, I was wrong, you were lied to, like shit like that.
Oh my god, they retconned a lot.
In a way, it's kind of the same. We're sharing a favorite moment here. Is when there's a ship taking off. They think it has one of their their friends in the ship, and I'm just kind of like, oh no, they've got Chewie in the ship, and then it sounds like, man, if this was a fucking video game, she could just pull that ship down. Boom! She does it. I'm like, oh shit! She's pulling it down.
And that's what confused me because before they didn't reveal what she was, and I'm seeing her steaming me because I'm like, first of all, she's nobody. How the fuck does she have this much power?
Yeah,
like
but then when she accidentally fucking blazes the lightning, and I'm like, oh, that was cool.
And I'm like, hold up a sec. She's using the Dark Force. I'm like, there's something up.
Dark Force.
Yeah, she's using something up.
I will say though,
I was really
happy. As much as I like that scene, I did think Finn just standing there going like, no. I was like, Finn, shoot that motherfucker.
Yeah.
She gets in a little force tug of war with Kylo, and I'm just like, Finn, you're standing right.
Shoot the bitch.
Shoot the bitch. Shoot Kylo. He's standing right. Just shoot him. And they're like, oh,
I thought that was going to happen. I thought that was going to happen, but I thought he was something cool. I thought he would be like, and just that bolt, bro. I'm Kylo Ren.
Just keep firing at him. You can't stop all the bolts.
I think it's
such a tiny little thing. I was just
like, they hint a bit a lot more in this movie towards Finn's Force sensitivity. That he kind of has it the same way that Leia sort of has it in the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Definitely like.
Well, that was the
Speaking
thing.
about-
Like in the
speaking
first
about-
movie, it seemed like they very slightly teased so much
It
that you
was.
missed it.
Speaking
and you
about
missed
force
I thought he was
sensitivity,
a-
she's
yeah.
supposed to be sensitive to the force, and she knew. How did she not know she didn't kill Chewie?
It's like a regional location thing. It's like a radar.
But he was still on the planet. He never left until after she destroyed the ship.
Well, Finn told her that.
Yeah.
She would have to sit there and concentrate
Trade and find
because like
her
in,
at that point.
in Empire, Luke has to do that whole training with Yoda, and so he has to sit there and think about where his focus on his friends and where they are.
Right.
And then he realizes they're on Pesman in Vegas.
Okay, so
So it's like someone yells out and tells her he's in that ship. All she can think of, he's in that ship, and then
she has to fucking Xavier it. With
Yeah,
the
yeah, you have to Xavier it.
Because I'm like,
But
Yeah, it's story bullshit.
Yeah,
I
but
guess.
talking about retcon, dude, they retcon Luke, they retcon the way he felt. When she was like, when he came back and, he was like, hey, you don't disrespect a weapon. You don't disrespect a lightsaber like that. You don't disrespect. That was a literal jab right there at what happened in the first. Because Luke goes, whoop, I don't give a fuck, And he's like, you don't disrespect a lightsaber.
Catching the lightsaber being thrown away was just kind of like,
right? He's like,
it was
you don't.
I didn't put that together when watching it.
I didn't put it together.
I
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
definitely.
I saw it. I'm like, oh, bro, that was like,
happening.
fuck that, man. Because he's like, because we waited for that moment, right? And it's like, so he's like, that's literally And then, he comes out smiling. He comes out. He's like, this was what I came here was a mistake.
Yeah.
So it's literally like,
Luke's entire
Luke
existence
was a mistake.
is quite literally like. And he actually acts like Luke.
At this point, I would love to have known what was J.J. Abrams' vision for part 2, since the other director just
He
kind
never-
of... I would have loved to have known what was he planning on
I can
doing.
tell you right
He
now.
set up
they
things.
have talked about this.
Okay.
JJ literally wanted to set up for the next movie just questions. He knows it's like the first part, so you can't answer everything. So, like what J.J. Abrams notoriously is good at, because the dude made Lost,
Yes.
is questions but not effective answers.
Yeah, right.
So he's doing what JJ does. He sets up for something that's relatively safe and puts a lot of questions where there's a lot of intrigue at the end of the film, and you're like, where is this going?
Right.
Yeah.
So at least he's effective at that. So he just lets it to like whatever the
dropped
next
hints.
director is. They can start answering these questions and figure out where they want to go from there. Because he was not going to
and
be.
almost in his mind, he's just like, he was probably thinking, oh, cool, then I don't have to answer it now. Let's see
He
what someone
wasn't
else
going to be the director of this movie
No.
either.
No.
But after the previous movie had such a weird
Fucking backlash,
much
yeah.
less like, oh, it's great, it's amazing. No, fuck you, it's amazing.
no, it's going
And
on.
then Disney's like, oh god, we have to play it safe. Get JJ back.
Yeah,
and he
please.
came back.
Well, yeah, and I think there's also another
What's her
fact.
name? Ray, the actress that
But
Ray,
even though
she
they
said
could've
that
got
she
someone
actually
else.
she was crying of joy when they said they were going to bring
Yeah,
it
she
back.
said he was really happy to get
Yeah,
it
she was like actually crying.
Because,
Just
well,
like, dude, just
also
get
the
him
original
back.
director is notoriously difficult to work with, from what I understand.
The
Oh,
director
that's
of this movie that was supposed to
The
be
original director for 9 who left the project is notoriously difficult to work with, so I think
okay.
that also, they're also like,
But then after that,
what's his name
but it's
there?
pretty much.
Trevorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's pretty much after that, they're just like, you know what, get him back, get
Get
JJ
JJ
back. He
back.
did the safe thing. It was well received.
There's a great interview, because you can watch all these interviews with the cast on Last Jedi, and they talk about how great Ryan is, and he's, da, da, da. And then they go to Carrie Fisher, and he's like, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
That's literally what she said. She's like everyone will tell you otherwise, but he's an asshole. Like,
Carrie gave no
I was
fuck.
like, because she's Carrie Fisher, she really doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I was like laughing my ass off.
Like seriously,
You can
what are
still pull up that interview on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's just-
Like,
but I think
can't.
he dropped hints. He's like, hey, I have all these cool things.
like what are they gonna do? Fire her or something?
No, no,
Like,
here's the thing.
she's like,
I think
amazing.
that Ryan Johnson's a very easy to work with director. He gets results. He gets his shit done. But people
He
have
hates fandom.
yeah, he hates
It
fandom.
seems he absolutely hates fandom.
The thing is,
Fan service too.
he might be easy to work with, but I think with the actors, and kind of what's getting lost here is that people think the actors hated working with Ryan Johnson in the last movie. I don't think they hated
I don't
it.
think so.
I do think most of the actors probably weren't, and they've expressed it, not thrilled with what he did with their characters.
Yeah, they
Like,
weren't.
not
yeah.
you weren't hard to work with, but I mean
Yeah, like what did you do?
my role is kind of what?
And here's my thing, like about fan service, I kind of agree with them, but there's give and take. You you can't be like fuck fan service and fuck it all and then take a shit on it and not give anything, right? I think a thing that does fan service amazing is The Mandalorian. Mandalorian is full of fan service and tropes, but it's done well.
It does feel original.
It still feels original. It's done
And
well.
it's funny is that Mandalorian effectively feels original. Well, it is horrifically unoriginal.
Exactly.
It's Lone Wolf and Cub. It's just Western serials. It's like it is just the same way that Star Wars wasn't fucking original at all either.
Yeah.
It's just Flash Gordon shit with a different coat of paint, and George admitted that. Like, so it's not. And like I said, it's a give and take thing now.
Give and take with fan service. And I think if he would have done a little give and take, the second movie could have been so much better. But he's like, no.
I'm curious about his, but I'm also, I know no one wants to see this, but I am morbidly curious as to what was Rian Johnson's end game here.
Oh yeah.
You know, what was he?
Yeah,
how was he building?
I thought about that too.
Like, what was he building towards exactly here? Because
exactly because
Star Wars has to have an element of cheesiness. It's a cheesy, hokey franchise, and it's a little dumb. There's some dumb shit in this movie with like the Sith fleet.
Oh, yeah.
So Palpatine had this massive armada of Sith Star Destroyers on this Exegol, like on this ruined, unknown planet.
They blow up Planet Kojima?
Right, so it's like, it's got this, and he calls it the Final Order, which is like, gee, I wonder what that's a reference to. It's for buffs. But it's just, okay, so we're like thousands of people just living underground on these buried Star Destroyers for like 30 fucking years, just waiting to like come up out of the ground and just start wrecking
Too many
shit.
questions. Too many questions.
Like, it's a little cheesy that he just had thousands of Star Destroyers on Exegol just fucking waiting around, and that no one else in the First Order knew about it.
It's the thing.
So, but you know what? Who cares?
Right. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about the Emperor that I find interesting is that if he had enough time to have children, so to have a granddaughter, how many more children does he have?
That's another.
He must have been a very busy man this entire time.
Who was Palpatine porking?
Right? Like who's?
Palpatine already looks to be pretty old in like the prequels.
Yeah,
he's usually an older dude.
Well, and like his son didn't look fantastically old when
not at all
in the flashback. So it's just like he had to have porked someone like right before Revenge of the Sith
or something like that.
Right before Revenge of the Sith.
He's doing some Sith porking.
Yeah, a lot of
that's just like in Sith porking is just. And then they're pregnant.
Yeah, you piece.
So maybe that was a hint from the first one that is like, oh, look at all these children and some of them have the Force and stuff like that at the end of the first one. Like, oh, these random kids, maybe they might be Jedi.
That was the second one.
That was the second one?
That was the last movie. Yeah. That ends with just some fucking random
like the kid with the
boy.
Yeah, who was like, okay, that was the second one.
Spoiler, yeah, that's not addressed at all.
Not at all. Fuck those kids.
They just dropped that idea.
Fuck them kids.
I don't know what the hell.
We're dropping ideas. Fuck your
Which again was like, what was Rian Johnson's end game here?
Yeah.
Was he just like, I want to kill the old cast, I want to kill the new cast, so I'll set up like a brand new cast, like.
I honestly think he wanted to just like, you know what? He wanted to keep it away from as tropey as the original. He's like, you know what? It's time for a new person that could be the Grandmaster. It could just come from anybody.
Right, just came from everybody.
Yeah,
Fuck it.
I guess, you know.
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
And everything was just like lost to me at this point.
I would have honestly, like, if they had gone into it, leaned into it more of like, you know, anyone can be a Force user. If that was the idea he wanted, like anyone could come from, like a Force user could come from anywhere. I'm cool with that idea.
Yeah. If it's like a spin-off series.
Generally speaking, I'm fine with that idea. I think it would have been okay, but like, I don't know what was going on with Last Jedi. Like, it just, even if you go with like Rian Johnson, or I should just say Last Jedi's idea that like Rey was nobody, she came from nowhere. Yeah. Okay, what does she do? She lifts rocks. Yeah. That's it.
Fuck it.
Like, that's all she fucking does in the movie. Like, it's not that I wanted to see her do. I do want to see her do cool shit, but I'm like, it's just okay.
It wasn't like those like the Harry Potter, like in the Harry Potter thing that one guy, he's like the magic guy who's just like this crazy force in magic or something like that. Like, she's not like she just does lift rocks. She's not like, you know, like where she has the force, but it's like. Just
she's
like
a low level.
Yeah, low level. It's not like it's ripping from her and she's doing
and through this movie, she's like extremely high level.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I can see
I can totally understand because she's gotten training from Leia.
Yeah.
And I get it. Okay, she's been training. She hasn't been training as much as Vader grandson kid, I forget his fucking name.
Luke?
No, but Kylo.
Yeah, Kylo.
The crazy thing is that she's become so powerful so fast, and again, it was throwing me off.
Makes sense now.
But the reason she was now makes sense because she's related to the to the most powerful Sith user in the galaxy.
Yeah, so that makes
she has the direct blood of the evilest.
And I'm totally okay with that.
Good. That makes sense.
Totally okay with that.
And that whole bloodline story is actually really cool. I really dig it. So now you have the grandson of Darth Vader, and now the granddaughter of the Palpatine. So that's like a cool, crazy dynamic, and the way that it changes and it goes back in itself.
It would have been nice if that shit was like introduced in the second movie of the trilogy.
It would have been nice.
Yeah.
So that because I feel there's no goddamn build up for their relationship in this movie.
Right.
Like they spend if you count the whole trilogy, they spend 90% of the trilogy hating each other.
Before we get into,
but there was a connection. You could tell, even from the first movie, there was a connection between the two.
Before we get into like the gripes, what was
a romantic connection?
What was your favorite spoilery aspect? Like your favorite spoilery thing in this movie?
When she blasted that ship with lightning.
Yeah. That was
it was like it freaked her out and it was just like, Dad, that's awesome!
And all of a sudden lightning came out of her hands and you're like, oh shit. And for a second I thought Kylo had actually affected her. Like he forced it out of her or something like that. Like, or it made it seem like she did it. I thought that was
because it was like a very cool moment, and it was also
But they
flat out kind of not ruined it, but they did have to just say later, like Kylo's like, "You're a Palpatine." Right. But I kind of like the fact that it was like for a moment there, they didn't have to say which was.
We knew.
Oh shit, Palpatine.
Yeah.
But that's fun.
But then that's why it wasn't so.
But
I'm like, yeah, she was Palpatine.
Favorite scene though is it's a very big spoiler.
Yeah,
big spoiler. It's a big fucking spoiler. It's what I think it is.
Is Kylo talking to Han Solo?
That's the best scene in the movie.
That's the best fucking scene in the movie.
It's really good.
That was your two.
Yeah, it's really good.
I thought Skywalker was a bigger,
and that's really good too.
I thought that was a bigger.
And Luke coming and talking, and Luke finally like. At the end, we literally had this conversation at the end of The Last Jedi, where it's like, man, Luke should have gotten his fucking ship and went and did some cool piloting shit or something. And then Rey gets to do that in this movie. Luke lifts the ship and he's like, go do your shit.
Yeah. And there was, it was super nostalgia bait, but
of course
I don't care because did you notice what the music was? The exact same music from Empire Strikes Back when Yoda
from Dagobah,
the X-wing out of the water. It was the exact same music.
There was a lot of musical.
Super nostalgic.
The part where they come across the Emperor's throne room and it's destroyed. That's the thing.
Emperor's theme. I'm like,
that's the thing. You can't even say the original trilogy is like the most unique shit either, because what was the big threat in Return of the Jedi? We're just gonna make another Death Star. Wait a minute, really?
About this before. I complained about this before.
Death Star 2.0.
I already could.
I don't hate it. People do hate this.
It's a little goofy.
But
it is fucking horrible.
Well, in the original, but like Steve hated it in the last the Force Awakens.
Yes.
But the thing is, we invented an atomic bomb. Dude, we got to make something bigger. We're going to make the hydrogen bomb. Yeah. So if you have a weapon, you want to make a bigger version of that weapon.
Yeah, looking at it do it from a military historical perspective, I'm not down on the second Death Star. To me, the second Death Star makes total fucking sense because
it's like we built an atomic bomb. We have to build another one.
Was it bigger?
It wasn't bigger, but it was operational faster.
Yes.
But it was like they built it and they tested it and it worked.
Yeah.
And then it got blowed the fuck up.
But Death Star's operational.
So they knew that the Death Star worked from A New Hope. There was no fucking reason any fucking Imperial army was not going to
like any military. Like
of course they were going to rebuild it.
If you want to build an atomic bomb, I think the idea that they made the fleet ships more powerful enough to destroy planets by themselves was a better idea than just making a larger ship.
Sure, but it's also a 30-year jump in time. Like
technology.
Death Star 2 was like 2 years after A New Hope. 2 or 3 years, I think, timeline-wise. So it was like, it was very quick. And they talk about it in Jedi, too, how they're rushing to assemble it. It's like, I need more men. Yes, it's impossible. Blah, blah, blah. So it's
I was kind of thinking about that. I'm like, well, what if they, instead of a Death Star, they kind of build this, like, these ships, and they could just be like a Death Star, so they don't get blown up so easy. They have, like, 4 ships, and they come together and do the beam and does another beam, instead of putting all their marbles on this big spaceship.
Star Killer Base was, I think, just bleh.
Yeah,
because
but that was their hydrogen
at
bomb.
that point, it's more powerful and it nukes like a whole solar system at once. But it's also like, okay, 30 years and we're kind of doing the same fucking thing.
It's not the fact of the weapon itself. It was the fact that it just did the same thing but bigger.
And
that
now,
was annoying.
Now their threat isn't like, we're going to put a gun to the head of a couple of planets, we're gonna put a gun to the head of everyone. Everyone.
And the thing is that there's no impact. You destroyed all of these planets and no one gave a shit.
Yeah, they blew up Planet Kojima.
Right, that was Force Awakens. Yeah.
They blew up Planet Kojima,
and they're like, sure, okay.
Yeah, or not. It wasn't Coruscant.
Yeah.
They blew up Kojima. It was the same planet they went to earlier, I think.
Oh, in this movie.
In this movie.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
You remember in the
they were making Death Stranding.
You remember in the first movie, they destroyed a planet, and I forget Luke Skywalker's teacher, I forget his fucking name.
Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan, yeah.
Obi-Wan.
He literally staggers, and he's like, oh shit, disturbance in the Force, so many people just died.
Yeah.
These planets got blown up, they're like, oh, cool. Alright. Just blow up the planet.
Well, imagine like Luke was in that.
Because the person would be in Leia.
Right?
We don't know.
What the fuck?
But again, it's
even
so many people died.
So many people died, and I mean, granted, it's a little bit later on, but when Rey does go to Luke in Last Jedi, he doesn't give a fuck.
Fuck.
He didn't care.
He's closed himself off to the Force. That was a problem.
Yeah.
He closed himself off to the Force.
So I'd say I think there's a lot of really good moments in this movie too, and there's some moments that like get you. The one where Chewie finds out that Leia's gone.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard to be
lost
like shit. It's hard not to choke up from this. And the part where
R2 cries at Leia's deathbed was also kind of like, oh Jesus God.
Oh God.
And I'm like, I know why it was R2. It was because Kenny Baker died the same year as Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
So they put like those two together as a sort of like goodbye to like both of those characters.
But
even though R2's
I honestly felt like the older cast was somehow separated from the new cast. Even though they went with them, and they went with them with the invention and stuff like that. I just felt like they weren't part of the group. You know what I mean? In a lot of
Han was in Force Awakens, and that's about it.
Yeah, right. Like
they never had their moment where they all.
Luke feels like he never. God, and that's the one thing about the Disney threequels is the fact that Luke gets squandered so fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like Luke as a character gets squandered to shit, and then he's pretty much relegated to being a Force ghost in this movie. Yeah. But they do like the best they possibly can with him, and that's the thing. It's like, oh, Luke's pretty good in this movie. Yeah. Like he actually is pretty great.
He acts like Luke, like because here's the thing that bugged the shit out of me. Luke, again, going back to
Luke didn't act like Luke
because he's in Force Awakens for all of 5 seconds, literally. And it was you end from Jedi. I get it. There's 30 years time passed, but as an audience,
that character's the same character.
We did not see the progression of this character go from A to B in Last Jedi. I'm okay with him becoming a grumpy
curmudgeon. Yeah.
I'm okay with him becoming a grumpy, disillusioned asshole, but
we didn't get to see that.
We didn't get to see it. We saw like a 30-second flashback of him getting a bad vision of his nephew and goes to fucking murder him. From a storytelling perspective, from our audience, we saw how Luke ended on Return of the Jedi to going to Last Jedi, and it's not there. It doesn't fucking work. But when, weirdly enough, in Rise of Skywalker, Luke Skywalker feels, acts, and talks like I expected Luke to feel, act, and talk 30 years after Jedi. He's as you said this in the Last Jedi reviews, like he doesn't feel like Luke Skywalker, he just feels like Mark Hamill. And I get what you're saying there too.
Yeah, he never got a chance to really be.
Rise of Skywalker feels more like Luke and less like I'm Mark Hamill and I'm acting.
Yeah.
Well,
it just felt like a character that Mark Hamill's playing, but it didn't feel like Luke. Because Mark has talked about like several times like what makes Luke Luke and the way he's mannerisms and how he talks, and he was told directly not to do that in the second movie. Yeah, he was told to have like pretty much a different character.
He's just an asshole Yoda. Yeah, like at the end of the day, it's not. Like
literally an asshole Yoda.
Like Yoda is kind of like this.
It wasn't. I'm thinking about it. Like, man, that wasn't fun to watch.
No, I don't want. I would never. I've only seen Last Jedi once. I don't want to watch it.
That wasn't fun to watch. Like,
that's the problem. It's not really fun to watch.
It's not fun to watch Luke, and you're like, come on, snap out of this shit. Go back to being Luke. And
Well, back on my take on the characters being separated. Do you guys notice that, like, when C-3PO said, "Hey, if I reiterate this Sith information, I could lose all my memory," and the cast was like, "Yeah, that's fine." like they didn't really seem to give a shit. But if it was Luke and the other crew, they would have been like thorough. They would have been like, oh, okay, we can't lose his memory.
That is all true.
In a sense, kind of,
that.
but I also get the fact that they were like, this is the stake of the fucking
But
universe.
C3PO,
Yeah, I get it, but I feel
C3PO has always been annoying, so no one gives a fuck if they erase his memory.
The other thing for me was just kind of
like.
like, when they said like, oh, he's like, R2's memory banks are not reliable, and I'm just sitting here like, just make a backup copy right now. Like, stick a hard drive in there. I'm like what kind of technology do you not have in this universe?
Plot tech.
Plot tech, thank you. Where I'm just like, oh, he's gonna lose memory. Well, make a backup right now.
Yeah, and then
cut it, then erase it, get the information, then put it back in. Because this is literally like how we do computers now.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I have to reformat my whole OS or whatever. Okay, let me grab all my porn, put it on this thumbstick.
I mean,
Take the thumbstick out, nuke the OS, reboot it, put the thumbstick in, porn's back, we're done.
And then you're adding all these new characters. So you have C-3PO, then you have the orange C-3PO, and then they got another fucking tiny little one.
I like that guy though.
So they got all these fucking C-3POs. It's like, dude, how much more do we need?
You know what though? I'm so fucking glad they weird. It's so weird to say. I'm glad they brought C-3PO back.
Yeah.
Because he was in the last 2 Disney trilogy movies for like
Squandered.
fucking 5 seconds.
Yeah, he was.
A minute or two.
So they gave 3PO like a big part in this movie.
Yeah.
He was always an integral part of the Star Wars saga.
And no, C-3PO.
C-3PO is the gold guy.
Okay, I was talking about R2. And then you guys started saying C-3PO. I'm like, wait a second, I think it's wrong.
Well, the thing is though, C-3PO is good because you know what he does? He brings a dynamic to the danger around them. Like,
Yeah, and he actually adds effective comic relief in this movie when sometimes he isn't.
He was.
I think some of the moments he has in this one are actually pretty good.
Yeah. And I think that's what's lost in Force Awakens and especially Last Jedi because he's not out there and there's no one like C-3PO. Like Finn and Rose go off to Casino Planet and it's just like...
Can I say...
shit.
Like when C-3PO and Poe are on a skiff and C-3PO is just kind of like saying all this shit, it's like, oh, that's actually...
Can I reiterate again how much I like it that Finn, Poe, and Rey actually feel like real characters?
Right.
Like all of them actually feel like they have good motivation and purpose, and they're trying to live up to things, and they're trying to protect things, and they're trying to understand. Like, they actually made a character, and it's almost like meta. They made a character out of Rey having no idea what her character is.
Yeah.
They gave her a character by her literally having no fucking clue what the hell she's supposed to be.
There's that line where she's like, everyone thinks they know
Everyone
me.
thinks they know me, and I don't even know who I am.
Yeah,
and that's her motivation now, is to find out more about herself. And the ultimate conclusion is that you're a Skywalker. And I'm like, that's some good fucking filmmaking. That's some good storytelling.
Would you say she's the Ryu of the story?
That's some good storytelling,
right?
And I think for me personally, that's one of the best aspects of this movie that is makes it rewatchable, is that it's good to see the characters talk to each other.
Yeah,
I like seeing these characters develop and finally... And you know what? You might not even have fucking needed the past 2 movies. You could have just had this as a standalone movie.
You know what didn't develop? Finn. And
Finn's, whatever the fuck Finn was going to say to Rey.
The whole thing.
They just dropped that.
No, not just that, but
Rose.
And Rose. That shit got bodied real quick.
She has all but maybe 5 lines.
In this movie, and I was like, okay.
They dropped Finn and Rose like a bad habit.
Not the actress's fault. Not the actress's fault.
Not their fault at all. Oh my god.
No.
They murdered that so-called love story. Went right out the window. I was like, okay.
There was... Honestly, okay, I'm going to say this. For the whole Disney trilogy, their romances are botched all to fucking hell.
Okay, so...
Because there's nothing going on in the first movie.
Yeah.
The second movie has that awful thing.
So now we got to talk about the most awkward thing in this whole movie, which is the final conclusion.
Oh my god,
and
why?
The weird... So I don't even think the Emperor and his motivations are bad. Like, I think the Emperor essentially just literally wants Rey to kill her. Because the Emperor is planning on literally transferring his power to her through being completely some weird Sith reason, Sith magic. Like, you kill me, I am in you. Like, that is how I transfer to you.
Now, granted, I was telling you about how this was big focus of the reshoots.
Yeah.
So a lot of his motivation kind of got shifted.
So the Jedi do that too. The Jedi do that. When they die, they actually have visions of their
Force Ghost.
Their Force Ghost comes out, and it just gives them information.
So there's like it's like the reverse of that, the evil dickhead version of that.
Yeah, it's like they possess a body instead.
But then the Emperor realizes that that Rey and Kylo have a connection that sort of transcends the Force and is even more powerful than his stupid Sith magic, and he decides just to literally do Shang Tsung le suck and sucks like that as much Force energy out of them, and literally gives him power again. So his motivation's different, which pretty much allows Rey to. The whole point is that you kill me, you're giving me what I want.
Yeah.
To eventually have her actually kill him, and but the problem is that. Once that is allowed, once it's on the table, oh, now the Emperor can be killed. It gets a little kooky. It gets a little like, I have one lightsaber, and then I got two, and then I'm gonna like the culmination of events there with wait, she died? What happened? Wait, what?
Well, that's why I thought it was Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, you thought it was gonna be Kylo or something.
You know, Kylo, and he gets. That's the thing that makes me a little bit sad. Like, you know, Darth Vader's never really got his big redemption. And like Kylo barely gets it the same thing, same as Darth Vader. He literally kind of mirrors his grandfather.
In such insane spoilers, it's already been listed, but such insane spoilers, you literally have the main character fights the bad guy, eliminates the bad guy in a weird way, like in an interesting way, dies.
Can I tell you how that exact moment was originally shot, or at least allegedly?
Is that how she was supposed to die?
No,
not Rey, the Emperor.
Oh, okay.
So there was supposed to be this moment where she's getting fucking overwhelmed by the Emperor, and you were going to see Force ghosts of all these past Jedi.
I definitely was waiting for that to happen.
Basically, give their
do the Avatar shit,
mm-hmm.
like literally.
That
Avatar
was supposed to be that apparently, and I say that's probably true because like everything in the leak was true except for the part where they came back and said this got cut, this got cut, this got cut. Well, I'm like. Everything else in the movie was 100% accurate, so I have to believe it was probably true.
Was that Twitter hashtag JJ's over or something like JJ's over party because he leaked the script or something like that?
I have no idea what you're talking about with that.
Okay, there was a Twitter hashtag that was trending for a while. J.J. Abrams is over party, and I looked at it for a second, and apparently he had leaked the script.
No, he didn't.
Early.
Well, the thing John Boyega's script got.
Script got stolen from a housekeeper.
Hotel. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He left it in the hotel, and then the housekeeper just took it.
Okay, so it did get leaked.
Yeah, this movie. Yeah.
That's how the script got leaked.
So the leak that you're talking about, it's not that. You're talking about completely different.
I don't know where the leak came.
No, the original.
I don't know. All I'm saying is that like there was supposed to be a kind of probably more oomph moment with like all the Force ghosts of Luke and Obi-Wan coming back.
The Last Airbender, it's
right?
insane.
And apparently they thought it was a little too much, or it took away too much from Rey. So they're like, "Nah, we'll have Rey do it herself." So Rey
literally describes that's what's happening.
Yeah, she just hears, and you see in the credits like it was all these old actors.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw Samuel Jackson. I'm like, what?
I heard Liam Neeson. I heard Qui-Gon. I heard Obi-Wan. I heard Ewan McGregor. I heard Sam Jackson.
I heard Alec Guinness, and they were both credited as Obi-Wan too.
Yeah.
So they basically used editing manipulation.
They brought Alec Guinness back from the dead.
So they were using him. I know because they're saying how like they basically in the first Force Awakens they took lines that Alec Guinness had said and spliced it up to say Rey.
Yeah.
So that's how they're doing it. This one too. So, but I was like, okay, so then what we got in the movie from what it seems like from the leaks is that they just turned it back and she just hears them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it would have been cooler or not to see the Force ghosts all like, jump in there.
I would have loved it, but
I remember hearing a rumor that like, yeah, we're going to see what Force ghosts are all about early on in this new.
That definitely didn't happen.
No, it did
not. And,
there's a lot of stuff missing from the beginning.
And then Simmons was saying that Kylo just dies in the
apparently Kylo gets just chucked down.
Yeah.
And when he got in the cabin.
Yeah, apparently Kylo getting chucked down the chasm is just that he's dead.
That was going to be.
And everyone is like, what happened to Kylo?
Really? That's how it's going to end? I did like the fact that the Emperor was petty as fuck about it.
Yeah.
He's just like, your grandfather. You're mean, I'm telling you gotta pick best.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, the only thing I'm kind of disappointed with, I love the way the Emperor was shot. I love the way he sounded.
Yeah.
I think some of his lines
didn't hit.
Well, it's weird because it's like, it's such a hodgepodge of like shit they cut, shit they
they reshot and then shit that's like left over.
Yeah.
So, because like from the exact quotes I was reading, and then they came back and said during the reshoots, yeah, all this dialogue is going to get cut or re-edited in a way. And I was like, so when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel it.
Yeah, there's some moments where I heard him say "strike me down" like 4 times in the span of 30 minutes or something like that. so the biggest gripe with the movie that I personally have is the final conclusion moment where Rey essentially has to defeat the Emperor. It happens kind of fast. It's kind of abrupt. Rey just dies. You're like, what? She has no physical damage.
Yeah,
like literally no physical damage to her.
That, yeah.
Force exhaustion.
Yeah.
Like no shit, dies the same way Luke does in the previous, which is complete cinematic horseshit.
Yep,
like just storytelling wise, it's just unsatisfying as fuck. Yep. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
I used the Force so hard I died. Fucking stop.
So again, like,
please.
Hey,
wasn't
Leia
going,
too.
Wasn't
That is true.
Leia too, man. She used the Force so hard.
Wasn't going to happen that way originally.
Yeah, I know. I could tell.
So let's talk about what did happen. So she dies. Ben hobbles his way up from a chasm, and then it does the healing trick, which I thought was a nice, something that you don't see any of the Jedis do.
Palpatine has Force suck, life suck.
He's got life suck, and she got life give. And I thought that was actually a really fucking good moment where. The moment where Leia tries to communicate to her son, and that distracts him and actually brings him back for a moment, and he gets killed practically as a result. And then Rey brings him back from the dead or about to die. And I thought that was actually a really good moment. I'm like,
she caught him before he died. He caught her as she was dead. That's the reason why he died in the first place. So with him, it didn't feel as
I'm thinking about it in hindsight now. He dies after, and I think it's implied, but it's not. It's obviously a reshoot thing. Yeah. He literally transfers his life to her.
Yes,
I didn't get that. I'm like, did he just die because he crawled up a chasm?
No, because
he transferred his fucking life force.
She said, I gave the creature some of my life force.
Yeah,
that was the
right. It's like your spawn gauge
with the sand.
Yeah, spawn gauge.
Your spawn number gauge.
But like going back to the whole thing with him and his father, I really like Han Solo got to be Han Solo one more time, and he's like, "Father," and he's like, "I know." Kylo was about to say, "I'm sorry," forgive, and he says,
"That moment is the best fucking thing of any of."
And he gets to be Han Solo one more time, and he says, "I know," and I'm like, "Damn." That's like right in the heart, right there.
It's a great.
He was going to, cry.
It made me like. There's a couple of moments that made me tear up.
Yeah, that made me well up a little bit.
That's effective
because he said I know because he's like he didn't want his son to really fully break down.
Yeah,
he's like I know.
But yeah, I think the final culmination's a little awkward. I really love the final shot of her going back and saying that she's a Skywalker. I thought that's a great little bow on the top, dude.
Yeah.
Going back to where it all started.
And then I think my big gripe with this movie that took me out of the movie several times, and I mentioned it to you guys, is the over-explanation of emotions and things. Like, for example, there's a moment where there's a very effective use of the main Star Wars theme, which has never been used in Star Wars outside of the title and ending. Right? Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's never used in any of the movies outside of the beginning credit sequence and the ending credit sequence, and that's it. They actually use it in this movie. Yeah.
I think they do it effectively too.
And they do it effectively. It's like a big fucking wow. This is holy shit, this is the main Star Wars theme during the movie. This is cool. Yeah. This is really cool. This is Star Warsy as fuck is what it is.
Yeah, they have like riffs of it in some of the original trilogy parts, but not like that.
As boisterous, like
not like
kicking the choirs, bitch. Let's go.
Here's the main theme, kind of like uninterrupted, untouched.
And I thought that was something that you never realize hasn't been done before, but when it happens, you're like, oh shit, like sick.
And I actually was like, that's a great moment.
And then there's a moment where it's like. And there's my gripe of it, that it goes back to Poe piloting, and he has this like, instead of obviously having like an emotional reaction to like what's going on, he has like they're here, everybody made it there, or something like where he has to describe exactly what we're looking at, and he has to describe his emotional state.
Yeah.
And that happens so many times throughout the film where a character is describing what they're feeling or what is going on because they're feeling
that part. That part was cringy to me only because I compared it to the MCU Avengers movie. It wasn't as impactful. The armada of everybody from like all the galaxy came to fight
because you actually know those characters.
Right, exactly.
There's just a bunch of space dickheads.
Right, it's like, hey, there's just a bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
it worked for me because it was fucking Lando.
Right, and Lando, I mean, also
the guy that has friends across the galaxy,
and stuff like that.
That was a good inclusion of Lando.
It just wasn't.
There was a very like you blink and you miss it nod, but I liked it anyways. That
his co-pilot.
Yeah, well, Lando's the turret gunner for Lando, because Chewie was co-piloting with Lando in the end, but the gunner on the Falcon was Wedge.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, the co-pilot
and he says, like, let's like go get him, like Lando or whatever, because he calls us to Lando.
Yeah, I saw that.
Him and Lando were the two that blew up the second Death Star.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's a really nice, quick blink and you miss it.
They didn't have I always call him the Mexican alien guy.
Nainub.
I
know what you're talking about.
I thought he was
vaguely Spanish sounding.
Yeah, he's got a very so like rolling the R's like Spanish sounding.
He's Filipino.
Really?
That's funny.
But I don't know. It's not perfect. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. But I think it does. It had a lot on its plate. Its entire goal was to answer questions and to give you satisfaction in some ways. And is all of it super satisfying? Maybe not super satisfying. Mostly satisfying. Some nice surprises in there that I wasn't exactly expecting. And the one thing that I could thank The Rise of Skywalker, I don't hate Star Wars anymore.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's like when they went to, I don't know if people caught this, they went to Endor, not the forest moon of Endor, but Endor.
Yeah.
The actual planet, which is why it looked different. You know what the movie is? It's like that landing on Endor. It's a messy landing where like they just smushed into the ground.
Yeah.
But you know what? They got there in one piece.
Yeah. We're gonna do what we need to do.
They got where they needed to go. It wasn't pretty. I've seen better landings. I've seen worse landings.
Yeah,
and they didn't try to force out any more like versions of it. You know what I mean?
No,
like, they kind of just ended.
There was no Emperor's like hand
coming out of the side or something like
that.
Oh
my god!
I still alive. Well, you know what they did? That the black chick that was kind of shipped with Finn. A little bit.
That was his sister, man.
No. Well, they do not know what to do with Finn.
Yeah,
they had a kinship.
They had a kinship, right.
They were
so they kind of hinted to something might be alluded.
I thought they were brother and sister.
Like later on or something like that. Yeah. Outside of that, it's good. It's actually over. You know what I mean? As far as I'm seeing it. I'm
actually looking forward to whatever the hell they go with next.
Yes, exactly.
We don't know at this
There's
point.
a cut scene that implies more, like they basically state that girl was Lando's daughter.
That's what I thought.
They have it in the movie, but it was actually stated earlier originally.
Really? I definitely picked up on that from the time, like the literal 3 lines of dialogue that they exchanged with each other.
Like,
there was a whole different scene. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
hey, man, I loved a lot of women. I'm Lando Calrissian.
Hey, so did Palpatine.
Who knows? It's funny because like in the first movie they talk about how like no, or was it the second? One of the movies they're like no one's responding, no one's coming. Maybe it was the second.
That was the second movie.
And like they got everyone to come in this one, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's because you didn't send Lando out to smooth talk everyone. Yeah. But like again, it was also, yeah. I mean, do you really want to see a movie where they just slowly run out of gas? No one comes to help them, and they just kind of get picked off one by one, and it's like, oh,
that's not good.
Oh, that's not good. That's great. This movie is like it has the thing where it's like they're going on the suicide mission. Things are looking fucking bleak. Things are, oh no, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, cavalry comes in. Did you have that Two Towers moment?
Yeah.
Where they're fucking Helm's Deep is fucking done.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do we do? Ride out with me. Fuck it. There's like the last 20 of us are just gonna ride out on horses, right?
Yeah.
And they ride out and boom, Gandalf and the Riders of Rohan, they're there, and they going down that big fucking hill. Yeah. It's that big epic moment. And Last Jedi didn't have that fucking moment.
Yeah.
But this movie did.
Yeah.
Which again, did it subvert your expectations? I guess, but in a bad way because it's just like, oh yeah, they're getting picked off, and then they get picked off. The end.
Badly, yeah.
The one thing I kind of would like to explore is how Finn is able to use the Force himself.
He's force sensitive, like butthole eyes is force sensitive.
What did you guys like the flashback of Luke and Leia training together?
I liked it.
I thought it was cool.
I liked it.
It was cool.
Oh
my god, though, Luke's face looks so much better than Leia's.
Yeah. Female faces are harder to do because there's less blemishes. Yeah. So here's the thing. I'll tell you things that are naturally hard in CG for human faces, and obviously like lips and basic human stuff. But number one is skin tone. Darker skin tone's tough to do because they're tough to light. How do you light like a darker skin tone and make it actually look natural? It's difficult to do.
You've done actual character animation for video games and shit, so you would know this better than anyone.
I'm just saying from just my experience and knowing friends. The other one is female faces, because male faces have more things to hide stuff, more wrinkles, more blemishes, cheekbones, like stuff that you can actually work around. Facial hair. Mm-hmm. Female faces, especially if they're younger, much more difficult to do because you can't hide anything.
Or at least you're talking especially for Uncanny Valley.
Especially for Uncanny Valley purposes.
So are you saying that's the problem with NetherRealm, with the female characters?
It was.
Yeah, right?
For a long time.
You couldn't make
it's better now, but like, people still have the big, people are still pissed off at NetherRealm because the girls aren't pretty in NRS games. Well, that's because the girls actually have features that are very human-like. They give them like kind of square jaws, they give them bigger eyes, or at least like bigger noses, or just some things to give them identifiable features instead of them just being generally pretty and not looking like DOA characters.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a tough thing. Like when you're doing Leia, that's why Leia looks rough in the other movie.
It was just funny because it was like right there, both of them. Boom, one the other, and it was just like, wow, Leia looks way more CG than Luke did.
I really dig that because there's an old comic book called the Dark Empire.
Dark Empire,
old Dark Horse comic book.
That's why I liked it, because it reminded me of a little bit of the extended universe.
Yeah,
and like some of the books of them where they actually train. I'm like, oh snap!
Yeah, where Leia is the one where she becomes more powerful, and there's some interesting stuff that happens.
It bugged me in Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I'm like, well, like Leia didn't.
They don't even like.
Leia never tried. Why would Luke not train Leia in the way of the Force? Like, it was so implied in Return of the Jedi that they were going. That was what was going to happen eventually. Yada yada. Like, Luke has that kind of like, I have that power. You have that power. I think you'll learn it too.
I think there was different ways Jedi train and different Jedis that had.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, Return of the Jedi ended with the idea that Luke's gonna train Leia, or Leia's gonna learn because she's his twin.
Yeah.
And then we get to Force Awakens.
He's not the last Jedi.
Yeah, and all she does is she has like some vague Force sensitivity in Force
Awakens. And this one does also end pretty similar.
And she flies through space in Last Jedi.
Right. It's pretty obvious that Rey is going to train Finn into being a Jedi, but that's not going anywhere now. Like, even Kathleen Kennedy, who's like the Grand Moff Tarkin overseer of Star Wars at this point, is like, we're not doing any more trilogies.
Yeah.
So they already confirmed that. Like, no more trilogies.
Yeah, they're kind of like, they're burned.
They got burned too hard.
I think now it's going to be like one-offs, things like that.
One-offs.
I think there will be. From what I've heard, there's still going to be.
I have no idea what's next.
Yeah.
I literally have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think.
I feel one-offs are
because they canceled the Boba Fett movie.
Yeah.
They canceled another project after Solo bombed.
Right. They canceled. Well, they canceled 2 Solo sequels.
Whoa! Wow.
They canceled. Apparently, there was going to be a Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina film that got canned. Obi-Wan got moved to a TV series.
Jeez.
There's a trilogy by the Game of Thrones guys that got canned.
Yeah.
That was probably because of how bad Game of Thrones ended, though.
Yeah.
From what it sounds like. And they were like, no more of this.
I know what they're going to do next. Star Wars Demolition.
Yeah!
There you go. They're going to Star Wars Demolition movie. We'll be there day one.
Yes!
Star Wars is back.
We're going.
It's okay to like it again.
Yeah!